Thanks for joining us.
So, revenue highlights. Nearly every revenue account, again, except for taxes, was over expected amounts. Specific attention can be drawn to the interest income, which is significantly above budget revenue amounts. This is due to our redoing of the time banking structure and attentive monies on the part of the Treasurer's Office. The income belongs to the reserves, however, and before the end of the fiscal year, it will be allocated to the reserves. So it's not money that we can spend. This is money that the reserve fund sitting in the bank all year, capitalized is earned for us, but will be sent back to those reserves as if they had already been in their own separate bank. It is, however, confirmation that our restructuring is working and is expenditure highlights, or lowlights, or comments, I guess you could call it. So taking each expenditure account by group, and this is in relation, you can kind of follow along on the budget to actual report, which is also included here. Staff salaries and stipends came in about budgeted amounts, with the town clerk treasurer being lower than the budgeted amount, and zoning administrator being higher. And this is just administrative staff. I'm kind of just going down the line here, so we're on page. Office expenditures came in approximately 12% over the budget. Notable increases can be found in electricity, education, office supplies, and miscellaneous. Again, tighter budget controls are going to be, the budget controls this year are going to be, this fiscal year, much stricter. I have a plan in place working with Donna to make sure that we know exactly what we have, and that we will not be spending a penny over what we have, provided no emergency situation goes, just in terms of normal day-to-day operations. From Asset County Sheriff's Department. Professional services saw significant overages of budget expenditures, due in part to the new auditing firm and the need to have an outside accounting services to assist the Treasurer's Office for that onboarding period of time. Both Emmerich and the accountant ended up working for a majority of last year, prior to my arrival as well, to get us into the state. And that is just a cost we get to eat on that. Dues and assessments, and of course, benefits. Benefits came in much higher. Health insurance and a variety of other things. Dues and assessments were slightly below budget, but the noticeable increase in the Addison County Regional Planning in this budget to actual, it is not in fact the dues that increased, it is misallocated expenses that will be ideally moved out. But we hired Addison County Regional Planning earlier in the year, fiscal year, to do work for us, and it wasn't correctly accounted. It's just a correction of budget. IT and software expenses were nearly on budget, with increases in licensing and security, and decreases in the managed IT services that the office uses. I cut the managed IT services significantly in order to save us money, but the licenses and software is what it costs, what we're being charged to be able to have licenses from Microsoft. The total general fund and administrative expenses, again, this budget actually was generated today, and it stands at, we're at page 4, 100%, 100.62%. Again, the idea being this is not complete. This is a snapshot of this point in time, knowing that stuff might come from the future. On to highway. Highway salaries, total category, are over budget by about 7.92%. Overtime wages were the specific driver. The highway benefits saw an increase again, like both benefits categories for insurance, and then our taxes on some of those overtime. Excuse me, the highway garage and administration expenses, so that's starting on page 5, pointing into page 6, approximately 89% of, 89% with over budget line items in that area, electricity, tools, and small equipment and miscellaneous. Significant reductions in other categories such as heating, fuel, and building. Equipment maintenance and repair page 6, stand at approximately 88%, with loader, mower, and miscellaneous equipment seeing over budgeted expenses. The loader in particular needed significant work this year. That's, well, again, owning an older vehicle, and that's the maintenance cost associated with it. And under budgeted amounts to most of the other vehicles and equipment. Road construction and maintenance are at about 109%. Overages in retreatment, particularly paving, obviously the retreatment lubricants and culverts. The price of lubricants is out of control this year. And culverts are over budget by $3,000, some of which might hopefully be might be offset by, we might be able to claw some grant revenue back in the future. Examine that grant a little bit better. Summer and winter road materials are less, each representing, let's see, 58% of budget expended right now for summer materials and 62% of winter materials. Obviously, the big kind of outstanding issue here is the budget for the July 2024 flood, standing at 71,000 in this document. 67,000 were actually incurred from and will be reimbursed by, part of which will be reimbursed by FEMA, the additional 5,400 that's actually equivalent to some of it. So the total budget stands, the total road construction and maintenance is about 100%. The total highway department budget is about 101.73% budget to actual. Total expenditures of the town, this is page 7 towards the bottom. Total expenditures of the town stand at total budgeted expenses of the town stood at $1,219,693. The actual expenditures being $1,237,509.55, representing about 1.46% over budget. The general fund, because of the excess revenue, stands at about $7,947.72 right now, meaning that we're not showing a significant deficit as of this moment, but we're, again, cautiously waiting for things to come back from July. In terms of reserve fund spending, I didn't include that document in there because beyond tonight, there was no significant expenditure for any reserve fund. The only one that had any activity was the digitization IT fund, with the purchase of sound equipment for the town hall and some of the new audiovisual equipment, and the Arnold Bay fund, which saw the new picture tickets. Everything else saw no change, except for more revenue from restoration and preservation, which received a portion of every document that goes in. So we saw more for the documents, which is great. And obviously, they'll all get their interest allocations before the end of this year. Yes.
So the amounts that were over the 7,000.
Yes.
That amount, is that going to come out of our reserve fund to make that up, or do we push it into next year?
We're over in the positive.
Oh, we're over in positive. Oh.
That's revenues minus expenses. Yeah, but not if we take out our interest. So that puts us probably document. That's good. Hang on one second, I got a few more items here. So I also included kind of just general takeaways here from this whole process. One is that the cost of onboarding new personnel and the learning curve with the systems in place, not to mention the cost of rectifying mistakes and long-standing errors, is significant. This can be seen notably in terms of costs associated with reviewing and fixing town accounts, preparing for the audit, and the outside services necessary to maintain and auditor recommended checks and balances. Secondly, inflation has hit multiple cost centers and shows minimal signs of coming down. The town staff, particularly the highway department, has shown incredible effort in sourcing materials at low costs, arranging deals and workarounds, and doing a significant amount of labor necessary to run the highway department themselves in a successful attempt to keep costs down. They should be commended for their diligence in this, and they really have gone out of their way to seek the bottom price, the lowest price. Thirdly, the costs associated with benefits are an area of concern, health insurance. Multiple years of double-digit rate increases is going to be difficult to fund going forward. Fourth, the previous year's budgeting was inadequate to account for some of the increases generally that we've seen in several areas, mostly centered around administrative services. Future budget amounts must take this into account when examining arrangements for the town, be them contracted services for the highway or the administration. Examples include accounting and legal services, as well as some of the contracted highway services that we use to be able to do like excavating. Fifth, the reserve funds have been overcapitalized and not in relation to actual expenditures. While it is necessary to keep adequate reserve funds available, leaving the emergency fund at 7% of operating budget while funding other reserves makes little sense, as the expenditures needed to handle emergency situations are often significantly over the planned funds. And that is something I think the reserve fund planning committee wants to talk during discussion. Sixth, finding additional sources of revenue is going to be increasingly important. Grants should make up a significant portion of revenue for certain activities in this town, and so far they have not. Additionally, the town's appetite for debt is seemingly low, and being conscious of that will be crucial to planning decisions and expenditures for years to come. So those are some general takeaways that I have from this year, kind of analysis from both the audit and the budget. These are my thoughts going forward of extremely tight budget controls, extremely minimal outside of necessary expenditures, doing what we can with what we have, and making sure that we examine areas where we can in fact cut costs to be a little leaner on specific areas.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. The details, great. I love being able to dive like that. Your analysis was very helpful.
But so the plan going forward is that in each select board meeting, you'll be receiving the budget to actual. I don't know how I'll generate as many comments, but there will be comments. There will also be breakouts of specific things that should be used.
Okay.
And that's the plan. Every select board meeting will have this line item in there for budget to actual. It will be, because you're at the end of the month, there will be a discussion of the previous. One of the things that I was thinking about when I was going through this process is perhaps it might make more sense to have the select board meet the first Wednesday of the month rather than the last. That way, the budget information that you're going to be receiving will be as fresh as possible from the previous month. The accounts have been reconciled, everything's set up. That way, you can notice things ahead of time, to be able to head things off if necessary.
That's a really good idea.
And I had thought the opposite until I started really thinking about it.
That'll give you enough time to post, reconcile, close, all that.
Usually it takes about everything, yes, it will, yes. Without getting into any
no,
details,
that's fine,
it will absolutely be plenty of time for us to do it.
Okay.
Just a question, and I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I don't understand it. The town has basically 4 employees, 2 from here and 2 in the highway department. Why in the town report, why are all those employees lumped together so that we know how many expenses for the employees total? I mean, you have a total for the town clerk's office and you have a total for the highway department, but if you want to know what the total cost of those 4 employees are for the town, you have to add them together. I mean,
You will be very excited about the new chart of account system that we are about to, because it handles that exactly.
Well, it used to be together, it's just recently that they separated.
It was only together because of someone doing it in an Excel spreadsheet. So now, the way that we're going to restructure the town chart of accounts is that we will be able to report on expenditures related to all benefits, all salaries, all things, regardless of who works where and who what. And it will make it much easier for us to be able to document those things.
Just a suggestion, and this is the way it used to be done years ago, and I'm seeing a lot more businesses are doing it. Instead of paying overtime, why don't, because during the summer, there's a lot of time, they don't have things to do. They're up there, just sitting in the garage, and not saying it in a mean way, but that they are. Why don't we take and not pay overtime and give them time and a half comp time off during the summer? That's what a lot of businesses are doing. That's what the town of Canton always used to do. And that would save us quite a bit of money, and they get to have more days off in the summer. And that's one of the things. And along with that, too, another place we can save money is, I personally have a problem with the town truck that we just paid a lot of money for, going on every road every single day. He does not need to drive these roads. You're putting mileage on that truck you shouldn't be putting on it. You're also using fuel you shouldn't be using it. If somebody's got a problem on their road, they're gonna call. So I don't know why the road foreman is riding every single road in Canton every single day. That is a waste of mileage on that brand new vehicle. It's a waste of fuel. It's a waste of his time. I think he should be doing something somewhere else, actual working, and not riding around and setting aside the road on his cell phone. And I just have a problem with that, because when he comes to trading that truck in, when it's time for a new truck, all that mileage is gonna kill us. And I know that from working selling cars. It's just, there's no reason for him to be on the road every single day, every day.
Thanks, Timmy. It's worth looking into. We have employee assessment, every year, so certainly worth talking about. Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna do payroll, AP.
AP warrants.
And as I mentioned, the warrant reports, it's a great idea, and I'm gonna include them in the document information of the select board.
Was the next select board meeting gonna be first Wednesday?
Yeah, we didn't determine that.
No, because I only mention it because the last Wednesday of the month is during the office. I don't know if that affects anybody on the board.
Well, we'll be competing with the demolition derby, so.
We can have a remote meeting.
Let's go see, isn't that
Well, the last Wednesday of July is demolition derby?
No,
it's
it's
field days?
in July?
Yeah, they got that.
And who did that? Can't get ahead of the weatherman.
Yes, I do think it perhaps would behoove us, if it's not an inconvenience, it's an inconvenience, we can figure something else out. But I had been thinking about it, and just because it's like steering a ship by looking at the wake, because
Yeah.
you're looking at the last month, the last good month. The ability to head problems off is much greater at the beginning of that month than it is going to be at the end of the month, when you're dealing with 3 weeks of unreconciled information that may or may not be part of the reports that you're getting. Okay.
Question, does that have to be warned?
Well,
That we don't just one of those?
it was.
Yeah, we voted on it last.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so, but it doesn't have to be warned in the paper.
No.
Oh, okay.
Look at like the second Wednesday of the month, because if it's like some Wednesday could fall on the first of the month, but that matters. And July 4th next week.
I just want to comment that.
Yeah.
I think because if your Wednesday falls on the first, then you're not gonna have it.
That's true. The second Wednesday, probably.
Yeah.
July 9th.
Yeah.
I mean, does that work? Basically, you'll have to just vote to make an official change. Because the rules currently listed as the last Wednesday, so it'll be the second, just amended to be an action item to amend it to the second.
Okay.
And Robert, I called every service that the town currently utilizes on a regular basis. To see if there was
Just recently.
trash. every
That's
night.
cool. That's cool.
No,
You have to go back.
everyone
No, I
came
don't,
in.
I walked out and actually took my lab.
It's funny that it was the cheapest, but they were, everyone was hired by.
Then Acker?
Done. Yeah, no, I last.
Everybody, maybe not as 50, probably 20.
No, yeah, it's just interesting.
Some was, some was.
I mean, I had them personally. And I was like, no way.
But to your point, I'm still looking at other things, and I think it's very.
Hey, your telephone's $500.
Well, that's internet and server.
$100 a month. I'm on the same thing.
Yeah, but we have a server.
Thanks, sir.
And they manage our domain. So. We're paying for that deal.
Is that Waitsfield Telecom? No, like you have an option. Well, so I was just
Choose
not
not.
business class working remotely in Middlebury, when I moved up here, it stops the house before.
It literally stops at the town line.
Yeah, they told told me if I had 5 other people above me sign, they would do it for nothing. Yeah. I never pursued it, but.
Plus we're lowering the downhill part of the park. Yes. You don't have the ability to do that.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the facial expression.
No, it makes sense.
We're paying some legal ones, so yeah, okay,
We only do it once a year.
got it.
Maybe twice with summer. I think it's just.
You did.
I'm pretty confident I know the answer to this. The charges that for Exxon, Maple Fields, and Virgins, those are gas. Yeah.
We are getting rid of the water bubbler in both here and the garage. We're gonna buy our own water bubbler and go to Walmart or wherever and pick up 5 gallons. Because we're paying $70 a month.
I saw that.
And they won't even answer the phone. Literally every single day we try 5 or 6 times. Getting rid of that.
Then they'll call you back. Then they'll call you back.
Oh, I know. But we're actually, we can't get a hold of them, so we're gonna schedule automatic, they're gonna come automatically, and then when we're gonna have everything ready to go outside, when they show up automatically.
Nice.
You can't get them on the phone. It's on the.
Could I just say one more thing and then I'm out of here? So would we please have a sign put up on West Road saying it is a class 4 road until we have, maybe at our town meeting, where we have the town people vote whether they want it to be a class 3 road or whatever, because it is a class 4. And there should be a sign up there saying that.
With that.
Yeah, and but it should say it's a class 4 road.
Yeah, we'll have a conversation about that.
Well, have a good night.
Thanks,
You did.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
It's all. Classic, the garage.
Old school.
Well, can I make a comment before you go into executive session?
Yeah.
Back to the earlier comment about, the line items have to be more specific instead of in general. The same thing is true for the executive session line, where if you have a line there that says, we're going to executive session to discuss legal issues, that's 2 days.
You have to say what specific legal issue you're going into to discuss. And they have examples of what needs to be on that line when you go into executive session at VLCT.
Carol, did you register that?
If the legal issue, if the informing of the specific nature of the legal issue is itself like compromising the thing, then no, you don't have to put it on. So if it says like, if the town was suing somebody and it said, legal, going to executive session to talk about the pending lawsuit for that itself is a compromising position to that, and that itself is.
Anyway,
you're
yeah, stick around for that.
discuss
I'll stick around.
generally.
I ordered that. That's what they say, the example they say, that it needs to be very specific about what particular item you're gonna discuss in executive session. This is another meeting law.
It's what particular item that you can go into executive session for. There's only 11 reasons, and you have to list what particular reason you need to go into.
Right, but they have examples, and they are more detailed than what we usually see here. So I would double check on that. It's like if you're gonna discuss human resources, okay, what about? What kind? What are you saying? You know, what's the issue with human resources?
Well, most of human resources is privileged information. So sometimes it's HIPAA stuff, sometimes it involves wages and salaries, sometimes it involves contract negotiations.
Well, then they can say that. They can say we're going into.
I will make sure that it is as accurate as possible.
I mean, we can say we need to discuss human resource issues on wages. We need to discuss, you know, so that it's not just so general that it's like, it almost seems like an excuse, you know. It's not a real reason to go into executive session, it's just to, you know, exclude the public. So, I mean, that was just what I read. I saw it on a number of different places. They gave examples of what's appropriate.
I will double check to verify and make sure.
But I don't think, I think that's a mischaracterization of why we go into executive session. I don't think that we're going in there to exclude the public from it. We're going in there. Do you have something to add, Kathy?
I didn't say a word.
Okay, so we go in there because we have things that have to be discussed in private. That's just
The obvious part.
right. But to say that we're doing it to exclude the public, I think is a mischaracterization.
Sometimes it has been over the past year where we've been paying more close attention to what's going on down here. And I just happened to notice when I've been, you know, researching the open meeting law, that they do recommend that it be very specific about what is being discussed in executive session.
Okay.
That's what I read.
No, I'm not doubting that. I'm saying that in itself is fine. I'm not, that's not why I responded. I said, my issue is that you're saying that we were doing it to keep from attending to the issues that matter. And we were discussing things in executive session that can only be discussed in executive session.
Right.
So we weren't doing it to not include the public. We were doing it because there were legal issues that had to be discussed in executive session. So,
okay.
so I think, I just saying, you were saying that we were trying to exclude the public. Okay, and I think it's okay to like to clarify it and make it more specific.
Yeah, I just
So.
think it'd be helpful to the public, to the citizens, take the time to attend these meetings, that it be, you know, a little more specific, as a courtesy to them.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
So at the last, there's an executive session on the last meeting, and then it said you came out of session and said you were going to change the personnel policy, which is about, can you decide what it is in the personnel policy that you know is discussing that you want to change?
It's still under review. So I mean, the personnel policy is basically under review right now. Specific sections relating to employees. That's basically kind of, yeah. And to a certain extent, it's still a work in progress.
There's aspects of that can
Yeah,
discuss.
yeah, in that sense, yeah.
I feel like I go personnel policy review, that paragraph should be discussed, in the meeting around the policy itself.
Okay.
I think that part's a public document. I have.
Okay, thanks.
It's worth noting if you're gonna, if it's gonna go into executive session and then change something like this. I don't know, I just think it's. Because I think if you look at you look at the reasons why you can go into executive session, in regards to employees, I think it says if it's a specific, something that's coming up about it, or talking about one specific employee, or if it's negotiations of a contract. I don't think that would be like a meeting or something, right? It would be a personnel policy itself. The manual itself would not be.
The manual has to be agreed upon by the employees. There's a signatory page.
No, they have to accept that they've read it. That's what the signature is for.
Yeah.
But the policy is the board's, and they have to sign if they've read the policy.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't have to accept it, it has nothing to do.
I agree with you generally. I think, I don't think you can, no one's trying to keep anything secret. There were very particular reasons why it was done in executive session prior to this. And whatever is done will be done in public. When the board comes out of executive session, whatever decisions that they make will be a public vote, just like it was in the previous meetings.
They didn't say what it was, just the language.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Like, I don't know
Okay.
what
Yeah.
range, what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the AP payroll.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Melissa, yeah, for all the budget.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
7:01, can we make a motion to go into executive session
Right.
and invite Kyle?
Anyone? Everyone? You too.
Thanks.
You just gotta second it.
I'll bring it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our action,
You still need to make a motion to come out of executive session. I didn't have the report.
I make a motion for the third time, and now it's 7:32 to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I would like to make a motion to accept the amended personnel policy detailing the changes in which PTO is handled and maximums available of PTO and reserved bank time. Additionally, the select board agrees to the plan handling how PTO shall be determined for the remainder of the calendar year. These documents will be available in the town clerk's office.
I'll second that.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
And then the other action
Personnel.
item will
You
be
get that back to
to
Kyle.
amend the meeting days to the second Wednesday of every month. So the next meeting is gonna be July 9th,
5:30.
5:30 PM.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 7:33.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, thank you.
You need to come in.
The entertainment value is high.
uh,
Yeah.